Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Campus Care Group Discussion. Today, we have with us brilliant students with brilliant minds who would like to express their viewpoints on the topic. Is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? The is in social media. We share, we care, and connect through this large platform. Nowadays, we see political leaders from numerous parties actively participate in social media platforms. But is it really necessary for political leaders to be active on social media? With us, let us see what our bright students have to say in this interesting group discussion. So, over to you, students, and all the very best.
It's a dialogue, not a monologue, and some people they don't understand that social media is more like a telephone than a television. Respected judges, my fellow speakers, and the devoted listeners. First of all, good evening. Myself Ayush Gupta from Don Bosco School, Guwahati. Before starting, my perspective on the invention of any object would be that we all have two sides, right? The one what we see and the other that we don't. I actually want to precise things in order to present all possible sides of a particular topic or subject. Talking about social media, that is quite popular these days because of its user friendly features, be it a chance to communicate with each other across distances or to promote and advertise something. But it can't be denied that social media is considered to be one of the most harmful elements of society, where misuse of it can lead to grave consequences. Now, coming on to the topic for today's discussion, that is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? So, to present my perspective, my views on this very important topic, I want to go through some points. Actually, I will consider some pros and cons for the best. For politicians, social media it's a great way actually to reach people better, update them in the real life, spread their thoughts among the audience, or convince them about any issue, etc. Um, and absolutely, I personally agree that any platform that encourages interaction and engagement between elected representatives and their constituents should be embraced. But on the other hand, what my mind and vision is more focusing on is that social media has become the main instrument of political communication. So much so that many have, they have pointed the beginnings of a communication revolution. I mean, can you imagine that? The widespread use of social media in politics has changed the character of public discourse and provided political leaders with unequaled or unparalleled means to influence public opinion. Here, I'll go a bit out of the box. One side where television fosters a public discourse that is unilateral and static. On the other hand, social media promotes a discourse that is simple, impact oriented, multilateral, and dynamic. In other words, or in simple way, I would say, from passively absorbing political messages through televisions, citizens are now taking on many activities, roles in sharing information. I mean, they are actually sharing information. Plus, here comes the talk of fabricated news. I mean, thanks to social media. To enlighten more on this topic, um, for example, here I take the messages or tweets that we get on social media from our political leaders instantly reaches millions of people, isn't it? And are in turn read and shared in a never ending flux of posts. Anyone can join this interaction. I mean, no cost, no restriction. Sounds good? Not at all. As a result, the political and social hierarchy of a of political parties or this function. It weakens. I repeat, as a result, social and political hierarchies fade as everyone appears to be on the same level. As I already mentioned, that activeness on social media is not required because social media have weakened political parties and their function, resulting in the reduction of their policy making influence, which in turn influences the very functioning of a democracy. So, in order to summarize the whole thing or to conclude, actually, I would say that it is actually not required, it's not necessary for any political leader to be much active on social media because it's actually changing the way of socializing, the way of communication, we say. People are being more antisocial. Our economy and our overall view of the world is under impact, is under clash. Also, it can't be denied, which I would like to add, that is the pros and cons of something. I mean, everything has pros and cons. Yeah, it actually depend on us. It depend on us how we use it, whether we use it for the right purpose or misuse it. In the concluding lines, it is depends on the effective use of the particular platform. These were my opinion. I would like to end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayush. Who would like to go next? Prachi,
Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
Good morning to one and all present here. This is Prachi from St. Caden Secondary School, and today I'm here to present my views on the topic: is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media or not? Well, I would like to start with a famous Hindi quote: लाइक बटन के दबाते ही इधर उधर देखा पर कोई नहीं दिखा और पेड़ का एक तना हाथ में मोबाइल लिए मेरे सामने झुका. स्माइल प्लीज, आपके साथ एक सेल्फी लेना है. This is what social media is. Social media's taste is something else. Well, now combining social media and the government. So, social media and the government go together like peanut butter and jelly. But why? Because social media is an excellent place to communicate with constituents, launch campaigns, build awareness about initiatives, and is an essential tool in crisis communications. Well, in the outbreak of COVID 19, we were stuck in 2 years there. So, how did we connect? How did we convert our feelings to the government? How did we convey our feelings to the government? That was possible only because of social media. Now, let's read on to discover what all we have about social media. Whether you focus efforts on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, or a different platform entirely, social media will always be a solid place to keep the general public informed and updated about important issues and engage with an audience on a deeper level. Communicating and engaging with constituents will help establish and build credibility and interest. And as long as you don't use social media to broadcast messages and actually engage with the people you follow, more on this later. If you're serious about using social media to mobilize voters, check out Nextdoor, an app that local governments use to organize town halls, educate citizens on safety issues, and engage community on drugs. Show people who you really are. When the politicians are on social media, they build an image of their own. They have a personality of their own. They get followers, they get likes, and then the people start to build trust on them. Well, level with you here. Politicians don't exactly have the greatest rep. Stereotypes are dishonest, greedy, and a bit sleazy. There's an opportunity to shift perceptions by using social media for government communications and building a personal brand that is built on transparency. The US representative of New York's 14th Congressional District, commonly known as AOC, has done a tremendous impact via her Twitter account. by being authentically herself and using photos to support the fact she says with her constituents. AOC has sustainably grown her following and created a personal brand for herself that's relatable, honest, and bona fide. This authentic approach helped AOC scale her presence on the platform by 600% by 6 months. Now, let's talk something about the crisis communication. There's been more than enough crisis happening across the globe in the past few years. The COVID-19 pandemic, Brexit, the January 6th eradication, and the occupation of Ukraine by Russian forces. A few instances where choices out of the general public's controls or decisions from lawmakers have impacted the world a lot. When events like those mentioned about occur, just mark my words. When events like those mentioned about occur, people turn to social media to seek out and source information, keep up to speed with the latest news, and quell their fears by laughing a few minutes. People also look to the government for leadership when times get difficult. So it makes sense with the lawmakers. So politicians and governments use social media as a platform to manage the crisis comms and provide regular, official updates to citizens across the world. On the flip side, a crisis and social media can quickly become a breeding ground for misinformation. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, almost 50% of US adults saw a lot more fake news about the crisis. And almost 70% say that the fake news causes a great deal of confusion. But don't feel like you have to engage with every false comment or post you across the world social listening efforts. Some content might be too widely incorrect to warrant apply. However, if you see many social media users spreading misinformation, use official channels to set the record straight. Overall, social media can also have pros as well as cons. Now you would ask that how can it be a con for the politicians? The politicians can use it to build their image, to get followers, to get likes, and also to build a trust among their constituents or to build a trust among their voters. What is the con behind it? So here, my friends, the con comes. There's a lot of misinformation and propaganda spread on social media, making it difficult for users to know what information they should trust. Social media also makes some political discussion accessible to everyone regardless of their age or previous knowledge about politics. Now, you already know that about 860 million people in the world are under poverty. So tell me, how will they get access to social media? How will they know about the schemes organized by the governments? You tell me that now in India only you can see a lot of poverty, right? Poverty is just spread across the world. And the government has even launched SDG goals, but what's the use of it when social media is only ruling over the party? If it is ruling over the party, you are saying that the people will know about the schemes. Tell me how the poor people will know about the schemes. Will they be ever able to if they don't have access to phones? And once they even get phones, how will they get the high cost of network connection? That is the problem, my friends. So social media has both its pros and cons to influencing the political sector. On the one hand, social media is an effective tool for getting information out into the public sector in a timely fashion that can be used by citizens or politicians alike. And it can also allow who are not otherwise held in the politics to make their voices heard. However, there are many disadvantages of using social media. Facebook's fake news problem means that false stories with misleading headlines could sway voters if they are shared enough times or being debunked. So, as an overall, I would just like to say one thing in as a Hindi quote: राजनीति भाषा की रचना ऐसी है जिसमें झूठ को सच बताया जाता है और सच को बड़े सम्मान के साथ हत्या किया जाता है. Therefore, my friends, सच कर दिखाना है, सच कर दिखाना है, लोकल को वोकल बनाना है, अब बस भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाना है. So just go for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prachi. Who do we have next? Yug.
Yes, ma'am. What is politics? My name is Yuvraj. I am from Sankaran Secondary School. I am going to on the topic. It is necessary for a political leader to be active on social media. What is social media? Website and applications that enable users to create and share content to or to participate in social networking. Social media platforms are increasingly used for political news and information by adults in the United States, especially when it comes to election time. A study by Pew Research conducted in November 2019 found that 1 in 5 US adults get their election news primarily through social media. The social media has given political parties to the tools to research large numbers of political and information them on key issues ranging for policies to election. The media can be seen as an enabler for democracy. Having better educated voters would lead to the more legitimate government. One of the biggest benefit of social media is that it allows government to share critical information in a series. They use the media to get more attention because the more popular they are, the more support their policies will have. They use the media to share their ideas and to sell their political messages and ideas to voters. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yuvraj. Who do we have next who would like to speak? Who do we have next who would like to speak? You can speak, Anmol.
Good morning to one and all present here. I am Anmol Suman Sharma of St. Karen's Secondary School. I am present here to present a speech on topic: Is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? Social media. By hearing this word, we assume social apps like Facebook, Instagram, etc. etc. But social media is not only apps, it is a medium of communication through which we learn many more things. So, I think that a political leader should be active on a social media because it is a great way of reaching people. It is also a good solution for people also because now on social media it is much easier to follow all the issues or people we are interested in. It is very useful for political leaders because it helps to reach out directly to people from their constituency and ensures prompt response to key matters. Social media apps are increasingly used for political news and information. One of the best examples is Twitter. Most of the political leaders are on Twitter. There are also some disadvantages. Political leaders who spend excessive time daily on social media aren't adequately prepared to represent their constituents. That's comparable to a thoracic surgeon who, instead of reading medical updates, attends ground rounds and conferences to remain knowledgeable about the remains changing in the field of their expertise. From my opinion, political leaders should be active on social media because everyone is diverting from anti-social media to social media, and political leaders should be do same. Thank you.
Thank you, Anmol. Who would like to go next? Shalvi, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I have pronounced your name correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead.
A very pleasant good evening to everyone present here. My name is Shalvi and I am from St. Karen's High School. In today's world, it is undeniable that social media plays an important role in impacting our culture, economy, and our overall view of the world. Even it influences people towards a political party. Social media platforms are increasingly used for political news by the adults of India for the political news and information. A survey conducted in November 2019, sorry, I'm mistaken, 2019 found that most of Indian adults get their political news primarily through social media. 18% of adults use social media to get their political news and election news, 48% of which are from age group 18 to 29, which means this concludes that youth of today relies on social media for political news and information. So, I think that it is very much important for the political leaders to be active on social media. The social media acts as a bridge
अब
between
shortness
the
of breath होने
political
start हो गई है कि
leaders and the
हो गया
public. Even some of our
भाई लड़की का
political
नाम क्या है
leaders,
शैलवी
such as presidents,
शैलवी
prime ministers,
क्या सोच के नाम
governors,
रखा
and
है
various
शैलवी
other
शैलवी
leaders,
हाँ ऐसा
have
रोना ना
their
लड़ू बच्चे का
own
शैलवी
social media accounts.
शैलवी
As time goes on, we see
मैं तो
social
पूछा
media
मैंने तेरा नाम
being
सही लिया है
used more and
शैलवी
more by our political leaders, leading to controversy on the ethical use of social media
क्या
by
सोच के रखते
political
हैं यार
leaders.
पेरेंट्स नाम शैलवी
If political
भगवान की
leaders
मुझे सद्बुद्धि
use
दे
such
अपने बच्चे का नाम
platforms,
ऐसा ना
it
रखते
can
ना
often work to change or influence opinions when it comes to political views
बहुत बहुत
because of the
ठीक है
abundance of ideas and thoughts and opinions circulating through the social media.
काम कर रही हूँ
Being active on social media, politicians get a way to convey their ideas and opinions about various schemes and policies. Also, if they are in opposition, they can tell the people about the flaws and demerits of
आपको लड़की
some
दिखाई थी
scheme or
30,000 ले लिया
program. As any other thing, social media usage by political leaders also has some flaws
ध्यान वहाँ
and
गया नहीं
demerits
मेरा वो
because
लेके गए
rumors
थे
and false information
पुलिस स्पेसिफिकली
go
बोला था
viral
जॉब के
in
लिए
a second on the social media. But if we see to its positive points, it is always more than its negative ones. At last, I would like to conclude by saying that
अभी
we
तो
have
दो
to
चार बच्चे
evolve
हैं
by the evolving technology. Thank you.
चाहिए वैसे Thank you, Shalvi. Who would like to, Sujal?
Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome.
Let me start with a very beautiful Hindi quote. एक लीडर वो होता है जो रास्ता जानता है, रास्ते पर चलता है और रास्ता दिखाता है. A very warm and hearty good evening to everybody. Today, I, Sujal of Standard 8, representing St. Paul's here, to share my views on the topic, is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media?
वैसे गरम भी पी सकती
Social
हूँ मैं
media is changing the role of leaders and their relationship with followers and other stakeholders. If we look at the profile of a successful
ऐसे
leaders, they are influential in their field and widely respected by their team. They are used to shaping opinions and taking decisions that produce great business results. However, something is changing. Conversations are taking place across traditional boundaries, both within organizations and outside. Other individuals are informing them of new and fast changing ideas, and others may be manage new technology more easily. So, what's going on? Social media is going on. What started as a personal networking tool for students was quickly adopted in business as a way of delivering marketing and branding advantage, and there it remained for a little while. But in recent years, the growth of social media has been explosive. Social media can help voters to get more informed about politics. It helps people to have comprehensive understanding of all of the issues. It is most people's only source of information on the issues and candidates. If the leaders of an Atmanirbhar Bharat will use social media to look over citizens' activities and solve the problems of the people in a democratic republic like India, no one knows how many Sarvapalli Radhakrishna, how many great Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and how many great Jawaharlal Nehru India will bond with.
भाई कौन था
Therefore, on seeing the instances and circumstances, I can infer that social media has a great impact on a political leader's life to build his image, to get followers, to get likes. But the most important thing is to look over the problems of the people and get a glance to get the data out of it and make Atmanirbhar and developed one. For example, our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, isn't he active on social media? You must have seen his account on Instagram and also on different platforms. That does not mean he is not a great leader, or we can say, isn't he a responsible leader? A leader is best when people barely know his exist, when his work is done, his aim fulfilled. Then we will say, we did it ourselves. When there is no vision, the people perish. अब हमारा एक ही सपना भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाना. I repeat, अब हमारा एक ही सपना भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाना. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sujal. Shruti, you can go next.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, is my voice clear?
Absolutely.
So, hello everyone. I'm Shruti from St. Karen's Secondary School, Patna. So, I'm starting with a quote. नेता की नीति ही समाज की स्थिति सुनिश्चित करती है. And the question is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? From my point of view, yeah, a political leader should be active on the social media platforms because by the help of social networking, politicians can share their own thoughts and views, which led to controversies and help the people, specifically voters, to know more about them. Thus, it helps to shape public opinions. Politicians regularly update about their campaigns and rallies regularly on social media, and by this we get to know about their thought process in a government's order. These help to grow the number of supporters as to form a reputation in society. According to a survey, two-thirds of social network users are politically active on these platforms, which gives users the ability to help sway public opinion about a politician. If we perceive a political leader positively on social media, then he or she is supported by more people. This is what, excuse me, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Shruti. Yes, Shruti, you can speak. Shruti. I guess some issue might have come with our system or a technical glitch. Anybody else who would like to go next? Who would like to go next? Ronit?
Ma'am, can I?
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I am Shauri Kumar from St. Karen's Secondary School, and I am going to express my opinion on the topic. Is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? So, showing up on social media helps us stay informed, evolve our personal and professional connections, puts a face to our organization, connects us with the people whom we may not normally connect with, and gives us an opportunity to share our personal stories. As we know, social media platforms are increasingly used for political news and information by everyone all over the world, especially when it comes to election time. So, in my opinion, yes, I think that political leader should be active on social media because for politicians, it is a great way to reach people better, update them in the real time, spread their thoughts among their audience, convince them about any issue, create some kind of connection with their audience. But politicians should be perceived as normal people.
So it should be also quite easy to contact them, but they should not create any barriers between them and community. For people, it is also a good solution because now on social media, it is much easier to follow all the issues or people we are interested in. All want to be up to date with the stuff which we care about, and we also want to know what politicians are doing in our name. Social media also allows government to share critical information in during a crisis. It broadens the reach and amplifies the message, and it is also an alternative way for leaders to extend their traditional lines of communication between senior leadership and employees. The 2008 presidential elections was the first election where candidates used the internet and social media as campaign tool. A study by Pew Research conducted in USA in November 2021 found that every one out of five adults get their political news primarily through social media. This is very useful for both people and the political leaders too because it helps them to get the political news anytime and anywhere. And it also allows leaders to access many more stakeholders, both directly and indirectly, than has previously been possible. So, in my opinion, it is necessary for a political leader to be active on social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaurya. Who do we have next? Ronik, you can go next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ronit Kumar from Standard 8, and my school name is DAV Public School. So, my core topic is it is necessary for a political leader to be active on the social media. The political have always used the media to communicate with the electorate. What makes the social media unique in the scale, speed, and the minimum cost at which leaders can do this task? This paper analyzes the relationship between the political leaders and the microblogging site Twitter. It provides the comprehensive and the systematic analysis of the use of Twitter by two contemporary Indian political leaders, Narendra Modi and the Rahul Gandhi. It described trends to how often these leaders use Twitter and how their audience respond. Explore the relationship between the sentiment of the tweet and its amplification. The studies the impact of the change in Twitter global policy late 2022 that added friction before users could engage with the tweets. This framework of analysis can easily to be used for political parties and other officials who use the platform for outreach. Amid the ongoing digital revolution, social media platforms such as Twitter and Facebook are permanently alternated the nature of the political discourse in many parts of the world. This is the particular true in the democracy where the freedom of speech and the expenses are generated built in the varying degrees. Across the world, political leaders like corporation.
Ronit, sorry to interrupt you, but your video is not visible. We can only see your DP.
Uh, my, my video is already on.
Now you're visible. You can continue.
Okay, ma'am. Generated availability in varying degrees. Across the world, political leaders like corporation use these platforms regularly to reach out the large population. Politicians in the past have exploited traditional media platforms such as newspapers, radios, and television to serve their political internets. So, social media channels are unique because of the scale, speed, and the minimum cost at which political leader can directly, that is, independent of their office, reach out of the people to discriminate their message. Twitter, a microblogging website, it a key actor in the phenomenon. Its stated purpose is to provide a fast, free, and fun platform for safe and the free experience. However, political thinkers like Ronald Divert believe that these platforms, if unchecked, could eventually lead society to an area of digital unfreedom. Divert outlines what he calls the tree's painful truths. surrounding political authority. The social media first social media platform are private enterprises whose primary objective is to minimize shareholders value and the profitability. Their business model is centered along pushing advertisement to include it by continuous and the clever surveillance of personal data. Second, even through individual have considered to social media, these platforms are designed as the additions machines and tends to manipulate the appearing to emotion at the expenses of reason. Manipulation as the personal third, the interrogation that includes attention are the some instrument that facilitates authorization and traditions to secure the ordinary people by sowing seeds of the confusion, ignoring procedure, and the manipulating the underwise authority. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ronit. Who do we have next? Who do
Ma'am, should I ask a question?
Absolutely, Prachi. And one more information I would like to, you know, give it to you guys is your votes, your results depend on your votings that is happening on our live chats. So make sure you guys are subscribing and your friends, family, and everybody is supporting you on our live comments section. Whichever whosoever they're liking and wants them to see a winner in you, so make sure you subscribing the channel, they are subscribing the channel, and hence, mentioning your name in the comment section. So a quick note to that. Yes, Prachi, you can go ahead with your questions.
Okay. Well, according to Niti Aayog, 25% of the population of India are poor. Every fourth person of the total population of India is in poverty. So I would like to put forth a question that if so many people are under poverty, how can you say that social media will be accessible to them? And how can you say that they can also go ahead and check the schemes of the government? So, is it even necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? Because if he is active also, how will most of the population go ahead and see him, that what the schemes he is organizing, what his personality is, if they could even trust him or not? Can anyone answer this?
Do we have any answer for Prachi? Anybody who would like to answer? Prachi, could you repeat yourself one more time so that if somebody who hasn't
Okay.
understood or would want to have a more clarity towards it, they can have it?
Yeah, okay, ma'am. According to Niti Aayog, 25% of the population of India are poor. Every fourth person of the total population of India is in poverty. So now I'm asking a question, that how can you say that social media will be available to those people who don't even have access to mobile phones? Social media will be available to those people who are under poverty. So how can we say that it is even good for a political leader to be active on social media? What's the use of it when most of the population of India is unable to see them?
Prachi, I really think, is it even necessary to, ask this question? Because end of the day, we are talking about, is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? Why are we talking about people who are poverty ridden and who doesn't have an access to it? Why are we asking this question? And in what relevance would you like to, throw it to everybody?
I'm asking this question because most of the people of India are under farming occupation. Most of the people of India are under poverty. Even the goals are made as DG goals, and so many goals are made, but still people are under poverty. So why is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? We can see that false news is being spread on Facebook, false headlines are there. How would the people even trust the political leaders if false news are spreading and even the people don't have access to social media?
So, what I can answer is it's not about what social, political leader is doing on social media. Social media is not a platform wherein which defines what set of people should be active on and what set of people should not be active on. Having said that, for if you talk about the news and you talk about the authenticity of the news, it does not really depend on the medium to which you're catering. False news can be anywhere, rumors can be anywhere. It could be, so there are false publicities, there are propagandas, there are everything which was prior happening prior to social media. So it is not just social media as a platform which is catering to your question. Every, so whether a person is into the poverty line, or whether they're poverty ridden, or whatever sector or segment you're talking about in terms of a population, here we're talking about leaders who are being active on social media. So social media, if you talk about social media in particular, there we are talking about, so social media is something, a platform which is personal to everybody. However, whichever way you're dealing with and whichever way you're putting across your thought is dependent. So for me, social media is my personal platform, and how much leverage I've given to my audience depends on me. And if I'm a public figure, so it is by default that if I'm a public figure, people would want to know more about me, or they are just waiting for that one mistake that I may commit, and one mistake that I may put across, which never ever have even crossed my mind for a nanosecond, but somebody has contemplated in a fact which I even haven't even thought of. So they're just, it is very easy to bully somebody who's really famous. It's very easy to criticize somebody who's already having that limelight. So this is very personal to somebody, if whether they should be active on social media or not. So first of all, Prachi, have I answered your question?
Yes, ma'am, you've completely answered the question.
Thank you. And is there anybody who hasn't spoken, would like to express, would like to put across their viewpoints? Shruti, you left us middle way. Are you back with us? I know there must be some connectivity issues from our end.
Ma'am, she's text.
Sorry.
Ma'am, actually, Shruti, she's texting me like she's there in the meeting, but she is unable to speak, I guess.
I have
But here, like, it's not showing here
yeah,
actually.
exactly. She's not even showing because I admitted her. No worries. So whichever way. All right. So I guess everybody has spoken for the topic and expressed their viewpoints, right? And nobody's asking any questions. Nobody's interjecting. Nobody has a counter question to anything. I'm hopeful that this is the current situation, right?
Ma'am, shall I just add something?
Yeah, sure.
Social media helped us during the crisis of COVID-19. What do you all have to share about it? That in during the crisis time, during the COVID outbreak, social media helped us a lot to connect to our politicians.
Do anybody would like to answer, Prachi? So, Prachi, what are you asking? Come across one more time.
Ma'am, I'm asking that during the COVID crisis, we were not able to connect to the politicians by just going there. We were able to connect to the politician through social media. So, what do you all have to share about it?
Okay, so to be very honest, not every politician is active on social media. Not every politician is the one who's, so I may be a politician, and by my name there must be an account which is verified, which is running, but I'm not handling it. It is either my PR team or my social media team who's handling it. So these are my public activities. And if you talk about connecting with the social media, so even if somebody is on social media or not on social media, doesn't stop a message to go across to them. There are team members, there are various people associated with that particular party, a ruling party or an opposite party, through which we can communicate. So it is not just to for example, if we talk about so if we are talking about any CM of any city or any state, so if we are talking about a CM of any state, It doesn't really have to be necessary for them to be active on social media. But if in order to send a message, we have a lot of mediums through which we can send messages. And if you talk about social media, so there you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have Facebook. So there are a lot of ways through which you can communicate your stuff. It shouldn't necessarily be specified to a specific person. Rather, it can go to a large mass in terms of their own people working across them. So that's how people can communicate, whether pandemic or not. Right. So nobody has, not everybody has this opportunity to meet somebody in person. Right. Even if we are into a healthy norm of lifestyle. So it greatly depends on what sort of a message it is, how likely it is, to acknowledge, and how do we communicate it. Not restricted to social media or offline. All right.
Yeah, ma'am.
All right. So I hope everybody is through with this. So we were, actively in conversation and discussing about, is it necessary for a political leader to be active on social media? Well, social media is a very, private way of living. So it, just because you are a celebrity and you are somebody who's well known to the media or in the eyes of the people, a common man, you are somebody who's regarded as, you come with certain obligations, you come with certain responsibilities. So having said that, being on social media does not really restrict your designation of who you are in your personal life as well as in your professional life. It is rather, I would say, a much riskier place to be at when you want to, so I am a common man as well. So I have my own identity, I have my own individuality, I have my own way of dealing things. I have my own opinions and I have my own ways of looking at things. But just because I am into that limelight of audience wherein a large number of people look up to me, look at me, and they have this liberty of speaking about me, irrespective of what I'm saying, how I'm dealing, and whichever way I'm putting across something. So you talk about the necessity of a political leader to be active on social media. Everybody can be on social media. It's completely their personal call. And if we see the current segments, and if we see the current situations, not every leader is on social media, but there are leaders on social media. So there are, I just mentioned with Prachi also, that it's not necessary that I myself is handling my social media accounts or any particular channel. For that matter of fact, there is my team who's handling it. There is my PR team. There may be third party team or a social management team which is handling my page. So even if you see somebody who's active on their social media, doesn't really mean that he or she himself is or herself is writing those or posting certain things. Right. If we have it, we have a quick response to it. If we don't have it, we have a little bit late of response to it. Right. But anybody, for that matter of fact, whether it's a political leader or any celebrity or somebody who's a public figure, let's keep this choice to themselves, because each and every platform and in every form, everything has its pros and cons, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. So, and it is very easy to be brutal with people who are already in limelight, because then if one person speaks bad of it and if somebody is speaking bad of it and somebody is speaking good of it, I can bet on this fact that somebody speaking ill of it will be in numbers. So you need a lot of courage to be public figure and be active on various platforms and speak what you think. Right. And if you've spoken something which is not even you know the way you expressed it or something, there are certain times when we speak and we don't understand, oh, what actually we've been touch points to certain aspects. We are under the brunt of a lot of criticism. So to end this discussion, I would like to say that it's completely a person's personal choice whether to be active on social media or not. And it's just how you use it, how well you're able to manage that, how well you're able to cater to the audience that may like or dislike in both of them. So, with this thought, I, Sakshi Jain, host of the evening, would like to say goodbye to you and sign off, promising to come back with yet another interesting topic wherein we have beautiful minds like today who would be expressing their viewpoints on another interesting topic from our end. But make sure you subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon for more notifications. Thank you.